I'm Elliot Ward. I'm 29 now, living in Nashville, Tennessee. And I'll tell you right now, I didn't grow up in a home. I grew up in a war zone wearing a fake smile. If there was one thing my parents taught me, it's that love has conditions. I learned early that if I didn't get straight A's, if I didn't do the dishes just right, or if I ever, God forbid, talked back, I'd pay for it. My dad had a voice like a slammed door and a fist that followed close behind. My mom? She was more surgical. She didn't need to hit. She used words that got under your skin and settled like rot. You think you're better than us? Just because you can read a book without moving your lips? I was 8 when she first said that. I remember it clearly because I was reading to my little sister Maddie, trying to distract her from Dad screaming downstairs. Maddie was my only soft place to land. She was 5 years younger than me, but I swear, sometimes she acted like the older one. She'd put her tiny hand on my arm when I flinched at loud noises, like she was the protector. I made her a promise when I was 12 and she was 7. I'll get us out of here. I had no idea how. But I said it like I meant it. So I worked. I studied harder than anyone else at school, not because I loved learning, but because it was the only ticket out. I bagged groceries, cleaned gutters, shoveled driveways in winter. Anything to stack cash. I didn't keep a cent for myself. Every dollar went in a metal tin buried under the floorboard in my closet. That was my escape fund. I got out when I was 18. Scholarship to a decent tech school, then landed a job in software engineering before I even graduated. Moved to Nashville. I rented a studio and started sending Maddie money every month. Just enough to keep her safe. I begged her to move in with me, but she wouldn't leave. She kept saying, "I can't leave you here alone," like she was the one protecting them from me. I didn't go back home. Not for holidays. Not for birthdays. I thought putting distance between me and that house would be enough, but trauma has a long reach. 2 months ago, Mom called. First time in over a year. I didn't want to answer, but something made me pick up. Maybe guilt. Maybe habit. "Elliot," she said in her syrupy voice, the one she used when she wanted something. "Your father's in trouble. The bank's threatening to take the house. He needs help. We need help." I didn't say anything, just sat there with the phone to my ear, staring at the glow of my monitor like it could save me. Then she dropped the line that made my blood run cold. "There's someone who can help us, but they want something in return. Her name is Tessa." I didn't know who the hell Tessa was, but I knew the tone in her voice. It was the same tone she used when she sold Maddie's piano for beer money. The same tone she used when she told me my college tuition should have gone to fixing the truck. "She's in a wheelchair," Mom continued. "Her father's got money, lots of it. They want someone reliable to marry her, someone who won't leave her. Her dad's willing to clear our debt if you marry her." I didn't say a word. I couldn't. I just hung up the phone and sat there, shaking. What kind of parent sells their child off like a favor owed? A week later, Dad called. Drunk, slurring, angry. Said I was selfish. Said I owed them. Said I wouldn't have made it to where I am if it weren't for them. And then he dropped the hammer. "You either marry that girl and save this family, or I tell Maddie everything. About you. About what you did when she was little. You think you're some damn hero?" My hands went numb. Because the only thing I ever did was keep her safe. I took beatings meant for her. I locked her in my room when Dad was spiraling. I never let him touch her. And now he was using that against me? I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat the next day. I just stared at the phone, watching my past claw its way back into my life like a parasite I thought I'd buried. And then, last Friday, I got a text from an unknown number. It just said, "Her name is Tessa." She already agreed. I stared at those words like they were handcuffs. What kind of woman agrees to marry a stranger just to make her father happy? And more importantly, what kind of woman needs to? I didn't meet Tessa until the wedding day. There was no dinner, no awkward introductions, no slow build-up. Just a cold Saturday morning at the courthouse in Pulaski County, Kentucky, with my name on a marriage license and a woman in a black turtleneck sitting silently in a wheelchair beside me. She didn't smile, didn't cry. She didn't even flinch when the clerk mispronounced her name. I remember thinking she looked like stone. Still unreadable. Her hair was jet black, pulled into a tight bun. Her hands were folded in her lap, nails trimmed short, no ring on her fingers. When the clerk asked if I took her as my wife, I hesitated. Not out of nerves, but out of nausea. My mom was watching from the back, arms crossed like a prison warden. My dad wasn't even there. Too hungover, I guess. Or too proud to witness his own son get traded like a pawn. I do, I said, barely audible. Tessa looked at me then, just once. Her eyes were dark, sharp, like she saw something I didn't know I was showing. Then she turned back to the clerk and said the same 2 words, like she was reading them from a script. Afterwards, we signed the papers. She wheeled herself out the door. I followed, silent. Her father handed me a set of keys to an apartment outside town. Said everything was taken care of. Rent was prepaid. Groceries stocked. Just be good to her and don't make trouble. I wanted to scream at him. Do you even know your daughter? Or is she just another line on a balance sheet to you, too? But I said nothing. I took the keys. I drove her to that apartment. We didn't speak once. That night I slept on the couch. She didn't ask. I didn't offer. It was just assumed. The place was sterile. Beige walls, worn carpet, a single dusty bookshelf, 2 bedrooms, though she only used 1. I never went in. Days passed like fog. I went back to work remotely, debugging code for a startup that didn't care about my personal life. Nights were quiet. Tessa read constantly. She didn't watch TV, didn't scroll on her phone, just books, thick ones. Science, philosophy, astronomy. Sometimes I'd hear her through the wall, murmuring formulas to herself. I figured it was how she coped. I didn't know what to say to her. I felt like an intruder in her space, even though it was technically mine too. So I just stayed out of her way. I cooked for both of us, placed her plate on the table, and retreated to the couch. She never said thank you. Never complained either. 2 weeks in, the silence started to eat at me. I wasn't mad at her. Hell, she was just as trapped as I was. But the weight of that house, that deal, that marriage, it was pushing me under. I'd wake up gasping, drenched in sweat, convinced I was back in my old bedroom with Dad shouting down the hallway. Then one night the power went out. A storm rolled in fast, knocking the whole street dark. The heat died with it. I lit 2 candles and sat on the kitchen floor, head in my hands. It was the first time I let myself feel anything since the wedding. Tessa wheeled into the room. She stopped by the fridge, her face barely lit by the flame. "Do you have a flashlight?" she asked. Her voice was low, measured. I handed her mine without a word. She took it, then paused. "You hate this, don't you?" I looked up. "Hate what?" "This, all of it," she said. "Being here, with me." I swallowed hard. "I don't hate you, Tessa." She nodded slowly. "Good, because I don't hate you either. But don't mistake me for someone who needs saving." I blinked. She continued, her voice colder. "My father arranged this because he thinks a husband makes me less of a burden. He thinks tying me to someone will keep me from speaking out. From remembering." "Remembering what?" I asked. She stared at me, unblinking. "The night I lost my legs, it wasn't an accident." I froze. "I told the police I fell down the stairs," she said. "But someone pushed me." My blood went cold. "Who?" She didn't answer. Just turned and wheeled away, flashlight beam cutting through the dark like a silent accusation. I sat there for a long time, heart pounding, wondering who the hell I'd just married, and whether she was running from something worse than I ever imagined. I didn't sleep that night. After Tessa wheeled away and left me with that one sentence, someone pushed me. I sat in the kitchen, knees pulled up, staring into the flickering candlelight like it could burn the image of her face from my brain. Calm. Cold, like she'd been carrying that truth for years. I tried to tell myself it wasn't my problem, that I was just a piece in some transactional marriage orchestrated by two miserable fathers. That what happened to her, while tragic, had nothing to do with me. But that was a lie. Because ever since that night, I couldn't stop seeing the quiet way she sat in that courtroom. How she didn't cry, didn't look at me like a savior, just held it all in. And I recognized it. That silence, that weight. It looked exactly like mine. So the next morning, I knocked on her door. She didn't answer, but it was cracked open. I stepped in. Tessa sat at her desk, surrounded by a stack of books. Not your average novels. These were dense astrophysics texts, notebooks with scribbles and shorthand equations I didn't even pretend to understand. I asked gently, "Do you want to talk about it?" She didn't look up. "Talk about what?" "You said someone pushed you." She flipped a page. "You sure you're not just bored?" I sighed. "I'm not here to fix you, Tessa. Damn it, I don't even know. I think you deserve someone who gives a shit. Even if we're just two strangers stuck in a paper marriage." That made her pause. She finally looked at me. And after a long silence, she said, "It was my professor." My throat tightened. "What?" She nodded. "Senior year of college, he was my research advisor. He'd get too close. Say things that made me uncomfortable. I filed a complaint. Next day, he cornered me in a stairwell, said I'd ruin his career over a misunderstanding." She swallowed hard, eyes glassy but not weak. I don't remember the fall, just the pain after, broken spine, crushed vertebrae, but the university covered it up. Said I slipped. My father told me not to push it. He's an alumni donor, you know. Reputation over truth. I stood there, numb, furious. "And the marriage?" I asked. "How the hell did that become the plan?" She gave a bitter smile. "They wanted to tie me to something respectable, make me look settled, marry off the damaged daughter and keep the family name clean. That's where your parents came in. Your debt, my silence. It made sense to them." It was a strange thing, standing in that room, realizing both of us had been bartered like livestock. I wanted to punch something, break something. But Tessa just turned back to her notebook and said, "I'm not asking you to avenge me. Just don't pretend this is normal." I left her room without another word. That night, I sat on the couch replaying it all. My own bruised childhood, Tessa's calm recounting of violence, and the two toxic families who found a way to tie their rot together. I needed to know more. About him. That professor. I opened her laptop, hoping to find something. An email. A name. I know it wasn't right, but part of me felt like I owed her this. What I found stopped me cold. A folder labeled Proof Period inside. Scans of medical records, transcripts, official complaints never submitted. And then a video file. I clicked it. The screen flickered. Then there it was. Security footage, grainy, from a stairwell. A man, mid-50s, tall, balding, backing a woman into the wall. You couldn't hear sound, but you didn't need to. He grabbed her arm. She pulled away. He stepped forward. She stumbled. And then she was gone. Off frame. The man stood there, breathing heavy, looking down. I stared at his face. Something about it felt familiar. I opened another folder. Old press clippings from the university. Photos from donor events. Then it hit me like a truck. That man was my father's college roommate. It's strange how fast a quiet marriage becomes a war zone once the silence breaks. After I saw the security footage, after I realized the man who hurt Tessa was my father's old college roommate, I couldn't breathe. My ears were ringing, hands shaking like I'd stuck them in a live socket. I sat on the bathroom floor that night, knees to chest, staring at my reflection in the mirror, whispering, What the hell am I supposed to do with this? That man, Dr. Calvin Ellis, was practically a legend at my dad's alma mater. Published papers, big donor circles. I remembered the name now. Dad used to brag about knowing him. Said, "Calvin's the one who told me to invest in property. Smartest guy I ever met." Yeah, real smart. Knows how to push a young woman down a flight of stairs and walk away without a scratch. The next morning, I printed everything. The video, the timeline, the complaint Tessa never filed. I put it all in a manila folder and laid it on the kitchen table. When she wheeled in, bleary-eyed, I just said, "You don't have to open it, but it's all there." She didn't ask how I found it. Didn't even flinch. She ran her fingers over the folder like it was a live wire. Then looked at me. "Why are you doing this?" I didn't have a clean answer. Maybe I was sick of watching bad men win. Maybe I saw too much of myself in her. Maybe I was just finally tired of being afraid. But what I said was, because I want to live with myself. She opened the folder, read in silence for 20 straight minutes. No tears, no gasps, just quiet. Then she looked up, steady and slow, and said, "I want to take him down." That's when the shift started. We got a lawyer, a small, sharp woman named Dana Cruz, who specialized in whistleblower and abuse cases. Tessa gave her everything. Her journals, emails, even text messages from her father urging her to stay quiet. Dana said we had a shot, but only if Tessa went public. "I'm ready," she said. "If I lose on my feet. Not from a wheelchair, not from silence." In the meantime, I handled my own business. I called my mom. "Elliot," she answered, voice tight. "We've been worried. You've barely called since the wedding. Is Tessa okay? She's not giving you problems, is she?" I laughed. Sharp. Hollow. "You mean besides surviving attempted murder?" Silence. "What are you talking about?" she asked, already defensive. "I'm talking about Calvin Ellis, you know, Dad's college buddy, the one who crippled my wife and let her take the fall." Long pause. Then softly, "Elliot, we didn't know it was him." "Bullshit," I snapped. "You helped arrange this marriage with her dad. You knew exactly who her professor was. You knew because Dad told you, and you still went along with it. You tried to bury her story with a wedding ring." "You're being dramatic," she hissed. I hung up. Tessa and I prepped for the media release. Her lawyer planned the announcement like a chess game. Timing, language, corroboration. She wouldn't name me publicly, not yet, but she would name Calvin and the university. A week later, the article went live. Headline, "Former student accuses celebrated professor of assault, university allegedly covered it up." Within hours, it exploded online. Her story hit a nerve, but nothing prepared me for what came next. That night, Tessa sat on the couch, scrolling through emails. She froze, then whispered, "Elliot." She handed me her phone. It was an email. Subject line, "Your marriage is invalid." It was from a lawyer. Her father's lawyer. Apparently, the marriage license had been filed before her 25th birthday, but she'd just discovered that her trust fund had a clause. If she married before age 25 without her father's written consent, she'd forfeit the entire estate. Her dad never filed the consent, which meant... I looked at her, stunned. "He set you up." She nodded slowly. "He never meant for me to be married, just controlled." And then it hit me. The money, the silence, the arrangement. It wasn't just about protecting Calvin Ellis. He wanted to trap her, discredit her, and still keep the trust for himself. And now, if this story blew up, he wouldn't just lose face. He'd lose everything. After we learned the marriage was invalid, something in Tessa changed. She didn't cry, didn't panic. She just sat there on the couch, her face pale but composed, staring at the screen like it had confirmed something she always knew deep down. That her father never saw her as a daughter, just a liability with a deadline. He set me up, she whispered, from the beginning. I sat beside her, heart racing. We can fix this, I said. We expose the trust clause. Show the intent. If you didn't know and he deliberately withheld consent, he didn't just withhold it, she said, voice tightening. He forged a version, a fake one. I found a copy in his old documents once, unsigned. I think he planned to file it later, if I behaved. It made sense in the worst possible way. The sham marriage wasn't about money. It was about leverage, control, silencing her under the illusion of independence. But now she had the truth, and I saw it settle in her spine. Not fear, but fire. Tessa called her lawyer that night, told Dana everything. Within 24 hours, they filed a petition to freeze the trust, subpoena the documents, and challenge the clause's legality due to coercion and fraud. Simultaneously, she agreed to a televised interview with a major network. She wanted her voice heard, unfiltered. I'm not hiding behind anonymity anymore, she said. If I'm going to lose everything, I'm going to do it out loud. And she did. The interview aired on a Thursday evening. She sat in a soft blue blouse, hair tied loosely, voice steady as she told the world how her professor assaulted her, how her university buried it, how her own father arranged a marriage to bury her with it. She named names. She spoke slowly, calmly. Not with rage, but with precision. And it worked. The fallout was immediate. Dr. Calvin Ellis was suspended within 48 hours. The university launched an external investigation. Donors pulled funding. Students protested. His face was plastered across news outlets. Prestigious physicist accused of pushing student downstairs amid abuse cover-up. Meanwhile, Tessa's father tried to issue a public statement, claimed she was unstable, that the marriage was her idea, that he'd always supported her, but she'd kept the receipts, emails, voicemails, legal drafts he'd sent without her knowledge, and one particularly damning recording of him saying, "You're not losing the trust. You're throwing it away. Don't come crying to me." The judge granted a temporary freeze on the trust, pending a full review of the coercion claim. His assets were now locked, every cent. Tessa, in the meantime, was granted full control of the apartment and temporary spousal rights, enough to give her standing in court. And me? I stayed. Not out of obligation, but because for the first time in years, I felt like I had something to believe in. We moved out of that beige little apartment 2 months later, into a rental in the hills outside of Nashville, with big windows and quiet nights. Tessa kept writing. She's working on a book now, not just about what happened, but about reclaiming your life after it's been rewritten by others. We never signed another marriage license. Didn't need to. What we have now isn't about paperwork. And my parents? I haven't spoken to them since. My mom tried reaching out once after the lawsuit made headlines. Said she didn't know it was that bad. Said she hoped I was keeping quiet. I blocked her number. For good. As for Tessa's father, the court ruled in her favor. The forged documents, combined with the mounting public pressure and the trust's shady terms, led the judge to invalidate the clause entirely. Not only did Tessa get her inheritance, she now controls the board overseeing how it's spent. She turned it into a scholarship foundation for disabled women in STEM, with her name on it. I stood next to her at the first award ceremony, watching her hand out the grants in that same quiet, focused way she read those impossible books. And I realized I'd fallen in love with the one person who never asked to be rescued, but rescued herself anyway. Some people won't just abandon you. They'll build whole cages to keep you where they left you. But that doesn't mean you have to stay inside. You're allowed to walk away, to fight back, to rebuild from rubble. And sometimes, the best revenge is becoming everything they tried to silence. If you've ever had to claw your way out of something that was supposed to keep you small, I hope you'll share your story in the comments. I'll be there, reading. And if this meant something to you, stick around. We're not done telling the truth.